Hello everyone and welcome to the Tie-Dyed Therapist. I'm your host Richard Killian. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of psychology by exploring the theories of Erik Erikson, a renowned psychologist known for his groundbreaking work on psychosocial development. So let's get started. First off, who exactly was Erik Erikson anyway? Well, he was a German-American developmental psychologist and psychoanalyst. He developed his theory of psychosocial development throughout the mid-20th century. His most influential work was called Childhood and Society, and this was first published in 1950. In this book, he introduced the concept of the 8 stages of psychosocial development, which has since become a widely recognized and influential theory in the field of psychology. And today we're going to go over each of those 8 stages. The first stage, which I had talked about in another video, was called trust versus mistrust, and this begins from birth to 1 year old. In this stage, infants learn to trust their caregivers and the world around them. If their needs are met consistently, they develop a sense of trust. But if not, they may develop mistrust and insecurity. Many times you see this mistrust being played out, especially if an infant has not been in a regular home, but perhaps in an orphanage, where their emotional needs are not being met. This often happens. In the second stage, which goes from 1 to 3 years, this is called autonomy versus shame and doubt. During this stage, toddlers learn to assert their independence. If they're encouraged to explore and make choices, they develop a sense of autonomy. If they're overly controlled, they may experience shame and doubt. During this stage of life, the child is learning how to crawl, how to walk. They are getting into a lot of things. They're exploring basically their world. They're going from a place where they had everything taken care of for them because they were helpless to now having a little bit more autonomy. And it's an exciting time for a toddler. It's also the time that they get told no a lot. And consequently, they end up telling the adults that take care of them no quite a bit themselves. In the third stage, which is called initiative versus guilt, this runs from age 3 to 5 years. In this stage, preschoolers learn how to take initiative and make decisions. If they're supported in their endeavors, they develop a sense of purpose. If they're criticized or controlled, they may feel guilty and lack self-confidence. During these ages, there's a lot of things going on for kids, like learning how to use the toilet, learning how to dress themselves, feeding themselves, doing more independent features than they did in the stage before that. So it's a really important time to be using a lot of positive regard for these kids that are trying to learn how to do things themselves. The fourth stage, which goes from age 6 to 11, is called industry versus inferiority. During this stage, children learn how to develop skills and complete tasks. If they're encouraged and praised for their efforts, they develop a sense of competence. If they're discouraged or feel inadequate, they may end up feeling inferior. This is the time where kids are starting to go to school, whether it's kindergarten or first grade. They're also involved in a lot of group activities like athletics, soccer, music classes, dance classes, art classes. So they're learning how to do these tasks. They're learning how to do creative things. It's a very special time in the life of a child. And this runs until about age 11. The next stage is called identity versus role confusion, and this lasts from age 12 to 18. This is really the time of puberty for people. Adolescents explore their identities in this stage, and they search for a sense of self. If they're allowed to explore and experiment, they develop a strong sense of identity. If they're pressured to conform or criticized for their choices, they may experience role confusion and struggle with their sense of self. Something that I tell parents often is to observe, like, when their kids are doing things to help mark their own identity. Usually you see kids dyeing their hair different colors at this stage, or wearing funky clothes, or getting a piercing, or doing something like that. This is a normal stage of development when they're really trying to find out who they are and how they fit in the world. What's often distressing for parents during this stage, though, is that they're creating their own identity and they're breaking away from their parents. So suddenly the close bond that parents felt that they had with their children is now challenging, and it's now becoming more of an argument and more conflictive. You know, my mom and dad don't understand me. They're really not as smart as I thought they were. I know better. These are things that you often hear teenage kids saying. And again, it's a normal part of development. They're trying to create their own identity separate from their parents. And this is an important place to be. The next stage is called intimacy versus isolation. And although it runs from age 19 to 40, which is a big gap, most of the time this stage gets completed probably before the age of 30. During this stage, young adults seek to form deep, meaningful relationships with others. If they're successful in forming intimate connections, they develop a sense of love and commitment. If they struggle to connect with others, they may experience isolation and loneliness. So in the previous stage, it's about identity formation, and in this stage, it's about bonding with somebody else in an intimate way. So in the identity stage, teenagers are going through puberty, they're learning about sexuality, and in this stage of intimacy, they're actually becoming more sexual. They're doing more things, they're bonding in different ways. And it's a very important time. It's also during the time that most of these people are in college and starting off with their first new job. So it's a very exciting and promising time, but it's also a time filled with a lot of questions that people have. So the next stage is called generativity versus stagnation. And this says from 40 to 65 years, although, again, I would say that given our society these days, people go into the generativity stage probably much younger, probably into their 30s. In this stage, middle-aged adults focus on contributing to society and the next generation. If they're able to make a positive impact, they develop a sense of generativity and accomplishment. If they're unable to contribute or feel unproductive, they may experience stagnation and dissatisfaction. What I tell people who are going into this phase of life is that this is the time when people start thinking about getting married. People start thinking about buying a home, having children. You've already gone through this place where you've been dating and you've had a lot of fun and learning how to form relationships, and now you're actually going to settle down with somebody and create something. This is a very, very productive time in people's life, generally speaking, because they've already gone through so many milestones already, particularly, college and getting that first new job and starting to save some money and do things that they really want to do. Usually they've already done a lot of traveling by this stage. So this is a stage of life that most of us are in for a very long period of time, and we do everything that we can to stay productive and have meaning and purpose to our life and our work. The last stage, which is for people 65 years and older, and again, this was written in 1950, so I would say that this last stage actually happens a lot later in people's lives than 65, probably 75 or 80 at this point. It's called integrity versus despair. In this final stage, older adults reflect on their lives and the choices that they've made. If they feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, they develop a sense of integrity. If they're filled with regret and disappointment, they may experience despair and a sense of failure. This period of time for people is a time of reflection. It's a time of really being proud of the things that you've done, including raising a family, having grandchildren, having had a successful career, going into retirement with a sense of fulfillment. However, for many older adults, this is also a time of despair, because once they've stopped working, they have to stay busy, they have to stay productive. This is also a time when substance abuse can become a problem for older adults because of all of the free time and the lack of purpose. So it's a very, it may be the last stage of life, but it's a very critical stage of life, because what it marks is how well did you do in all of these other stages. So how do these psychological stages help us in the day-to-day world? Well, it helps in several ways. Number one, it helps us to understand human development. Erikson's theories provide a framework for understanding the various stages of human development and the challenges that individuals face at each stage. This understanding can help parents, educators, and therapists support individuals as they navigate through life. By understanding the unique challenges and needs of each stage, for instance, parents and educators can provide appropriate support, encouragement, and guidance to help children and adolescents develop a healthy sense of self and navigate their social environment. It can also identify potential issues. By recognizing challenges, individuals, parents, and professionals can intervene early and provide appropriate support to help individuals overcome challenges when they're identifying potential developmental issues or crises that may develop at other stages of life, or rather difficult stages of life. It impacts personal growth and self-reflection. Erikson's theory can be used as a tool for self-reflection, helping individuals understand their own development and the challenges that they may have faced or are currently facing. This understanding can lead to personal growth and improved self-awareness. Lastly, informing therapy and counseling. Erikson's theory is often used by therapists and counselors to help clients understand their own development and the challenges they may be facing. By understanding the underlying issues related to a specific stage, therapists can provide targeted interventions and support to help clients overcome these challenges and achieve a healthier sense of self. How I've used Erikson's stages in the past with clients is that many times clients come to me and they don't feel like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing in life. They feel like they're delayed. They feel like they're not accomplished. And a lot of times they just don't feel like they're doing what their cohorts are doing. And when we start looking at developmental stages and where somebody should be, it's a very helpful indicator as to where somebody really is in life. Sometimes it can be rather a relief for people to hear that they're exactly where they're supposed to be and that they are facing challenge points, and those challenge points are healthy and appropriate. So I wanted to share Erikson's stages with you because most therapists certainly know about these stages. They utilize them in terms of their analysis of cases and helping people in general. So I hope you found this useful today. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and I'll see you another time. Bye.